Hello, and welcome to the weekly reading. This is our first week with Jupiter in Gemini, which is a year-long transit, and Jupiter makes things bigger, hence this beautiful big ball, sphere, and elevation, the joyful blend. We've got some big energy coming in with my setup this morning, and we have our 4 cards, which are just a reminder, a collective reading for all of us. This one is really going to have that reach for 12 months, really, because this is a 12-month transit of Jupiter in Gemini, and a full revolution around the sun for Jupiter is a 12-year transit. So you might want to look back to 12 years ago, so this keeps losing focus there, which would have been around 2012, 13. Round about there, halfway through 12 to halfway through 13, I think it would be. But just you can look that up on an ephemeris online on astroseek.com if you want to get specific of the dates of that. For me, for example, I know that I was pregnant and having my first child when Jupiter was in Gemini last year, which means she is coming up to a Jupiter return. We only have a Jupiter return where Jupiter comes back to where Jupiter was in our own natal chart every 12 years. So when we're around about our 12th year, we have our first Jupiter return, which is a big rite of passage. And these continue through our lives in this it's a very benevolent, expansive time in our lives. So it's always good to know, where is my own Jupiter in my natal chart? And if it's in Gemini, of course, this is a really big one for you. Also, if you have your sun, moon, or rising in Gemini, this is a big thing for you. And in fact, if you have any planets in Gemini, and even if you don't, go and look at where Gemini is in your chart. You may not have any planets there, but you might have Gemini ruling the 7th house, and then you will find that Gemini energy is very impactful on your relationships, for example. Or you might have Gemini in your 2nd house, and then it might be very impactful on your self-worth and your work in the world. So these are interesting ways you can add to the understanding for your personalization of this. Also, pick a card between 1 and 4, and that will give you a slightly more personal slant on this first week of Jupiter in Gemini, and potentially that gives you some guidance of the trajectory that it is going to take for you. If you want a personal reading, whether it's astrology or with cards, just check out the link below this video, and let's jump in. Here are our 4 cards. I don't know why we're having focusing issues today. And yes, many of them are upside down, but I feel like that's kind of appropriate for now. We have 2 cups cards, the 10 and the 9. So right towards the end of that cup journey, cups being water element, being our emotional health and intelligence. And then 2 fire cards, the King of Wands and the 4 of Wands. So we do start the reading with an upright card, and the 10 of Cups is such a beautiful culmination. You can see that rainbow energy there, and it's very much a card of happy families. So this could be 2 things. This could be the acceptance of the end of Taurus season. We've come to the end of a cycle. We've culminated. It's been very nurturing for us, and Jupiter in Taurus has given us something to really check in with our values. Taurus is very value oriented, and we've been having a lot of Taurus stuff going on. So as Jupiter steps into Gemini, which is much more intellectually based sign, we might be stopping to take a moment and appreciate that journey of Jupiter in Taurus and how we may be experiencing value shifts in quite a big way. I think for most of us right now, this is something that's showing up for us. So as we come to the 10 of Cups, as Jupiter steps into Gemini, and we say to ourselves, wow, it's rocked my world. Taurus is an earth sign. Uranus is in there. Uranus is like earthquake energy. So it's kind of rocked my world, some of the stuff that's been going on for me lately. But what it has done is given me an appreciation of what I really value and the relationships in my life that are most important to me. That might be how this card shows up for you. It might also be, as it steps into Gemini, that we go, right, well, I feel like this journey for me through Jupiter and Gemini is going to be a time of really getting my priorities in order and focusing on the relationships that are most important to me and I do value, and looking at how to make that feel balanced. Because when we see all the rainbow colors like that, it does speak to being balanced. think about your chakra system. Each of the 7 major chakras has a color of the rainbow, and we want those all to be working well. We don't want to have 3 good colors and the rest are looking a little drab or not spinning properly. We want it to be balanced. So how do I take this Gemini Jupiter season, which is a year, and just check in with where I'm out of balance? Let me get real with that so that I can come into balance, because Gemini is Mercury ruled, and so he can Jupiter brings in big picture. Gemini and Mercury bring in smaller details. So it's like, well, if this is the spotlight is showing me that this is going great and this is out of balance, let me, Mercury, the little puzzler, let me puzzle this out. How do I remedy it? How do I find a better balance? Then that's our upright card, and the rest of the cards are all upside down. And part of this for me is saying, whoa, Jupiter has just jumped into Gemini, and it's like this whoosh of intense. Suddenly my mind is racing, ideas are popping in left and right. I don't almost know what to do with myself. It's coming so fast after that slow, steady, grounded Taurus energy. It's such a floodgate of newness and excitement and enthusiasm, and almost too much, almost maybe overwhelming. So now I just need to find my feet, and Gemini is not naturally a grounded sign, it's an air sign. So now I need to find my feet again, now that the energetic signature has suddenly shaken up, taken flight is maybe a good way to think of it. And that's why this is all upside down. But I just feel like this week for us is us finding that new energy signature within ourselves. For example, I hold strong Gemini, so I can really feel the Gemini parts of myself are really getting a good old shake up, which on one hand they love. It's like, oh yes, this is a signature I know. But on the other hand, it can feel a bit like too much of a signature I know. So I almost don't know how to come back down to earth. So how does it fit you? And that's very much what I see for us this week, is just figuring out what's taken to the sky and wants to fly and doesn't know how to come back down again. Like the kite that is not now being anchored. It got away from its flyer and it's flying all around the place and doesn't know how to land. What parts of me are doing that? Then I can remedy them. So the King of Wands and fire in general, and I'm going to turn them around now that we've spoken into that. But fire in general is passion, energy, excitement, movement, dynamic, just vuma. I don't know what other word to use. So here we've got the king, which is the very, very end of a journey. He is wise and grounded in his passion and strength and courage and charisma. And so obviously upside down, we're saying, is he maybe being a little bit too reactive rather than responsive? Is his temper getting the better of him? Is he inflamed on some level? Now, when I say he, because obviously a king is a he, energy, but then, of course, doesn't matter what your gender is because we all carry a yin and a yang. So he is a yang energy. So looking at the wise, fiery masculine within you, or looking at a male or more masculine woman outside of you that is in your sphere, that is perhaps being very reactive or holding a lot of anger all of a sudden, or who is operating in these energy bursts and then just dwindling, these spurts. Now that could be you, as I say, or it could be somebody that you see. Either way, it comes back to that we're feeling a little ungrounded. So suddenly Jupiter with all this energy is blasting the air, which has almost turned the fire into wildfire, and it's just trying to get a little bit contained. This is quite a strong card of Leo energy, and we would speak of Leo being the hearth fire. There wants to be a bit of containment. The wise King of Wands wants to be able to contain his passion, his anger, his all those hot things that can be too much if they do not have a containment vessel. So that's what he's trying to do this week, whether it's the he in you or whether it's the he's around you. That's what's trying to happen. I just need to get my fire back under control, but ultimately this is a really great energy. And the Four of Wands as well. It's about let's celebrate. It can be particular celebrations. So A wedding is a good example of that, or a big party for a birthday celebration, or whatever the case may be. We should be able to celebrate. But upside down, it's like, and that's the other thing about Gemini. It's a connecting sign. It's one of the more people-y signs. So it wants to connect with others. So that would be cause for, let's have a celebration. Let's go out on the town. However, upside down, it's almost like I've got so much going on. My anxiety is so high. I know I should probably go out and socialize and be with my friends, but I'm feeling overwhelmed by my excessive to-do list. And I don't know how I'm speaking, the speed and the sort of jerkiness, that's very Gemini. I wasn't doing it on purpose, but I can hear it in my voice. It's very Gemini. And that's where you need to just recognize letting your hair down and connecting with others is part of the way to decompress that stress. And productivity is not necessarily only the way that we have been taught productivity is. Ticking those things off the to-do list, having been more productive because you have gotten more things done, but maybe not super productive really because your balance is out. You're so stressed, you're forgetting to enjoy your life. You're forgetting to come back into your body and listen to its wisdom. So that's really a nod to how we're trying to figure this one out is I also shouldn't be excessively out partying and not getting anything done. That's the other side of that. Or not allowing myself to let my hair down because I'm so stressed and I have so much to do. So either way, we want to come into a bit of balance with that. And then the Nine of Cups is such a brilliant, lucky card. It's such a nod to remembering it's water as well. It's such a nod to I'm nearly there. I found the treasure. Now I just have to decide what to do with it. You know, I've manifested my dreams. Now what's next? So ideally, in the order of the Cups cards, the very next card from the Nine of Cups is the Ten of Cups. And in this particular reading, we do have both. So ideally, you can see it's like, okay, I've gone into the depths and I found the treasure at the bottom of the ocean. And now I have to take that treasure and I have to go and disperse it in the places that I value most. And also remember to stop and appreciate it. Not just get up to the surface and give my children money and then go back down for the next box of treasure, you know, just using this imagery as an example. Of course, there can be a million different things in your own life. I actually need to now look at how do I appreciate that. So because this card started also upside down, we might say, okay, so I do see the treasures that I grew in Jupiter and Taurus season. And now already all these new ideas, Gemini, of all the new things I need to start doing have jumped in, and I may forget to pause, to reflect, to ground, to drop into my body, to appreciate what I have done, what I have created, who I do have in my life, what I do value, who values me, and so on and so forth. So for me to turn this card around, we again, it's almost about that productivity, breaking the productivity paradigm of how we've all been raised for many, many years, hundreds of years. We have been raised that you get as much done, you work hard. And in some ways, Taurus does speak to that. So now we've come out of Jupiter in Taurus and we're saying, I need to work hard. But Jupiter in Taurus is a slow and steady, hard but slow. And Taurus also knows how to laze and stop at times. It depends on how healthy the Taurus energy is. Taurus can get stuck in stopping and not doing anything, or can get stuck in the monotonous rhythm of getting things done. So that would also depend on you and how you manifest your Taurus energy. But once we get into Gemini, it's like I want to do it at warp speed. It's the hamster on the wheel that just goes faster and faster and doesn't know how to stop. And you could just see the smoke on his little claws because he doesn't know how to stop the wheel. And this is saying stop the wheel. Take time to appreciate, to celebrate, to experience life, to contain sometimes the ideas and the passion. Write them down, walk away. Today is not the day for me to start 20 new ideas. It's the day for me to look at one. I'll write them down and I'll come back. And then after hours is after hours. I need to go to the places that hold great value for me and the people, because water is emotional, water is relational, water is reflective and receptive. So for me, we really have to balance our fire and our water energy, which are polarities, of course. And we don't want the water to put the fire out, and we don't want the fire to burn off all the water so that it just steams away. We need that balance. So I hope this has been helpful. Please remember to check the link below. Likes, shares, comments, subscribes, all very much appreciated. And if you're looking for a personal reading, get in touch. Thank you for your time and enjoy feeling out this new Jupiter Gemini energy signature this week.